So you want to know the truth. The truth is that you are a slave to rectangular display formats. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born inside a quadrilateral prison that you can neither smell nor taste or touch. A prison for your creative mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what round displays are. You have to see them for yourself. Hold on a second. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Actually, you can totally turn back. You're just watching a video. You're not actually taking drugs from a strange man in a trench coat. But you should stick around, because today we're talking about even more exotic round displays and how to use them. So I've split this video into two main segments. The first, where I'll talk about smaller embedded displays, and the second, where I'll go over larger, more plug-and-play monitors. Now, I'll showcase what's available, how to get them connected, and where to buy them. And speaking of buying, I purchased everything, all the displays used in this video myself, and didn't receive anything for free. I also have no affiliation with any of the manufacturers, and this also isn't a 100% comprehensive list. It is meant to be a comprehensive list of brands and or products that I trust, so hopefully they are as reliable for you as they were for me. Anyway, let's get started.
When looking for these kinds of screens, you're going to find them in three different formats: RAW, with a breakout board, and integrated with a controller. RAW means you're just going to find the display itself with the flexible cable sticking out. You don't want this. If you somehow find a screen that just has a connector sticking out and no mating PCB, run away. It's not worth the time to reverse engineer or create your own custom PCB, but that's not an issue, because for 95% of displays, you're going to find them with the breakout board. The next step up in little screen usability comes in the form of displays that have already been paired with a breakout board. This usually means a rounded PCB that matches the silhouette of the display that has good old-fashioned solderable through holes. If you despise or lack the resources to solder, some of these displays have connectors and come with cables so that you can plug in standard 2.54mm headers or jumper wires and breadboard your design. It's not the end of the world, but a durable and compact design it does not make. If you just want a tiny programmable round display, well then you're in luck, because you can also buy them with a controller. Now if you want the easiest embedded solution that requires the least amount of setup and delicate parts, there are a lot of ready-to-go display dev boards that have integrated microcontrollers and other peripherals like IMUs, battery management, speakers, microSD card slots, microphones, etc. These controllers are usually ESP32 or Raspberry Pi Pico based, and if you want the highest performance and most flexibility, I recommend only using ESP32 based boards, preferably ESP32S3 boards that have external flash and PS RAM so that you can display all the tasty graphics your heart desires. So what's out there? You can expect display sizes ranging from itty-bitty 0.71 inches up to 4 inches in diameter. Now why not bigger? Well, bigger screens means higher resolutions, and higher resolutions means more memory, which means faster, more expensive processors, and after a certain point you've exceeded what a microcontroller can be used for, and the display needs to be driven from a dedicated controller and paired with a computer. That's what the bigger screens are for, and we'll talk about those later. Right now, we're going to start with the most interesting displays I've found so far. This is a quarter, and behind it is a fully functional 160 by 160 pixel LCD. But what's even more exciting is that this board has a built-in ESP32C3. You can buy them just as a breakout board for next to nothing, but if you're gonna have a small display, you want a tiny setup. Now, these haven't been on the market for very long, so I haven't seen other people make anything with them yet, but the first idea that popped into my head was to put them into a ring, or 4. So now I can finally have the virtual knuckle tattoos I've never wanted. Now these tiny boards do technically have a LiPo charge controller, but I want to keep the thickness of the rings down. So I designed a wrist strap with 4 USB-C ports and some tiny cables so that I could have my compact cyberpunk fashion.
If you want to take advantage of these kinds of displays, you're gonna have to write some code, which means Arduino flavored C++ or maybe MicroPython if that's what you prefer. Now it might sound scary, but it's really not that bad once you get into it. And personally, I love getting into a programming flow and working on things that I'm interested in, which means I'm usually listening to music or a podcast. And when I'm listening to music, that means I'm listening on my Raycon Everyday earbuds. I'm wearing their latest model, which has a 32-hour battery life, so I can keep my workflow going without worrying about running out of charge. And when I'm working outside in the garage, I can rely on my Raycons to help me stay focused because these earbuds also come with active noise cancellation, which is pretty hard to find at an affordable price point. And when I'm done in the garage and back inside, I can effortlessly switch to my laptop since the Raycon everyday earbuds have multi-point connectivity that lets me pair with 2 devices at once. Eventually they do run out of battery, but that's not much of an issue because with the quick charge function, only 10 minutes of charging gives you 90 minutes of battery. And charging is easy since they support wireless charging in the carry case, which I've upgraded with this awesome Galaxy theme protective cover. So my case is equally safe and stylish. If you like videos like these, buying Raycons helps support my channel. So go to buyraycon.com/MrVolt and you can save up to 20% off site-wide. That's 20% off everything on their website, including 20% off their headphones when you go to buyraycon.com/MrVolt. Thanks again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Okay, so how do we actually talk to these round screens? Let's take a closer look. You see this little reflective sliver? That's the actual integrated circuit that handles all of the memory and processes that draw individual pixels without you having to talk to them individually. This is what your host microcontroller or single board computer is actually talking to. Now, you don't need to know how it actually works, but you do need to know what they're called in order to know if you can use a particular display. Now, they have pretty simple names that usually consist of a few letters followed by some numbers. You know, catchy titles like ST7789 or GC9A01. Not exactly memorable, but that's enough for you to go to Google and type in, hey, does this particular driver IC already have a pre-written library? And if the answer is no, just toss that display in the trash. And if the answer is yes, well, then you are in business and you can start drawing graphics on your lovely new round display. So this is the actual low-level driver code that is handling sending commands to the driver IC for, reading and writing pixels, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter because you don't ever need to play around with this code or modify it. This is too low level, and it's just so that higher level libraries can have an easy way to talk to a display. There's really only so many common driver ICs, and because you need to have that driver logic in order to talk to a display, most of the popular graphics libraries already have a bunch of different driver ICs incorporated into the library. So you don't have to do that from scratch either. But all that to say is there are a handful of graphics libraries out there that you should be familiar with if you want to start drawing, shapes and circles and text and whatever on your little round display. Now you've got Adafruit GFX, Arduino GFX, Loveyan GFX, and TFT ESPI. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty. They all do similar things of drawing graphics and displaying images. I'll link them down below so you can read through each one. The short answer is this is the actual code that you're going to be modifying in order to display whatever widgets and text and gauges and information you want on a round screen. But what if you want the crispiest graphics, the most responsive GUI, and you don't want to reinvent the wheel because we've been making user interfaces on computers for decades now? Well, then let me introduce you to my new favorite frenemy, LVGL, the Light and Versatile Graphics Library, which is the shining star of embedded GUI development tools. Now, I don't know a lot of other embedded GUI development tools, but this one is free and it's really powerful. And it's actually what I'm using to drive my video glasses. So if you want to drive really high resolution displays and display using custom widgets like keypads, sliders, gauges, then you need to learn LVGL. Now that being said, if you're an absolute beginner, I don't recommend learning LVGL. I know what I just said, but it's a really dense piece of code and it's very overwhelming for an absolute beginner. I've been doing this for a while and it took me a few days to even get some basic examples to compile with the hardware I was using. So it's tricky. That being said, if you want a responsive, modern-looking GUI, LVGL is the way to go. All right, so I want this video to be helpful to people that aren't super technical, and that's where these next displays come in handy, because they're effectively plug-and-play monitors. There are less of a wide selection available. You can find screens ranging from 1.39 inches up to 5 inches. Now, technically, I did find a 23-inch plus screen, but yeah, I don't think I'm buying that one. So, for us mere mortals, they really only go up to 5 inches in diameter, but that's still pretty good. Also, quick note, if you are about to impulse buy one of these screens from AliExpress, from the link in the description, the default option is going to be the cheapest one, and that's just going to be the raw display. You need to buy the raw display plus driver so that you get a functional unit. If you see a price that seems a little bit too good to be true, double check that ordering option so that you buy the right one. Now, in terms of what they actually offer, for the most part, you're going to find singular displays, and these just have the display itself with a driver board, and you just need to plug in HDMI and USB power to get it up and running. And they also offer dual displays where you've got two individual monitors connected to one driver board, and just like external monitors, they can be duplicated or extended. So maybe you're looking to make some LCD cosplay eyes or something like that. Those things are out there. They're a little bit pricey, but they're pretty cool. I didn't have any trouble when using these displays with Windows. Now, I did only test them with Windows 10, but I can't imagine any of the modern operating systems would have any other difficulty. You just plug them in, just like any other external monitor, and they show up as another monitor, except with a square aspect ratio. And just drag and drop to rearrange it, just like any other screen. Now, using a round screen with macOS was a little bit less successful. Yes, I was able to plug it in to my MacBook Pro, which is an M1 MacBook Pro running macOS Sequoia, and I did have to set it to a particular resolution, otherwise it didn't work. It didn't self-identify like Windows and give me a square aspect ratio, so it was a little skewed. And unfortunately, this screen in particular just started smoking after a few seconds, so I don't really know what's going on with that. I don't think it was Mac related, possibly just a bad display. Using round screens with a Raspberry Pi is a lot less straightforward. While there are a few modules like this one that uses the DSI connection, or this little guy right here that uses the GPIO, those types of round screens are far less common, so you're better off trying to find a module that has a regular HDMI input. Unfortunately, it's not just going to be plug and play. You will have to edit the config.txt file to change the video settings. I'm not going to explain all those because there's a lot of different settings, and more importantly, I just followed this really wonderful weird display guide on the Adafruit Learning System, and that is as good as a tutorial as you're going to get for using these kinds of round screens with the Raspberry Pi. So you can find that link in the description below.